Hi, I'm Jameson Newlander, Alan Frog from the Lost Boys, and you're watching the Frog Brothers podcast.
Let me get
It's refreshment time, folks.
I'm just gonna go watch a movie.
Do you like scary movies?
I don't watch movies.
I have to return some videotapes.
You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. Don't need a TV.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.
Over 1,600 titles, each for rent at just $2 the first night, and only
Finish him.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
It's a laser disc.
Okay, I want channels 18, 24, 63, 109, 87, and Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Frog Brothers podcast with your hosts, Justin and Alec.
Hello, and welcome to the Frog Brothers podcast. We have a special episode here. Tonight we are hosting Hank Braxtan, and he's got quite the resume under his belt. If you're in the Ghostbusters community, you're probably familiar with the classics Freddy Vs the Ghostbusters and the Return of the Ghostbusters. So, and of course, with me, as always, my brother, my esteemed colleague, Alec. So welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys. It's cool to be here.
Yeah. So, Justin, did you want to start off? Do you have something? I got some notes here. I can go down.
Well, I was going to say, so, you know, back in 2004, you dropped Freddy versus the Ghostbusters. And that was kind of one of those things, like, I think the fan community was still pretty small then, you know, online. So to start getting that out there and start seeing that, I remember watching that and being like, wow, that's awesome. Like, that's a fan film. That's some new content. So obviously, I mean, those movies go hand in hand. Like, you're going to stop somebody that's like a demon, a ghost, mix that up with the Ghostbusters. So what kind of inspired you to put that piece together?
Well, I mean, it was a couple things. First of all, I had seen Freddy versus Jason in the theater, and that was like one of the best theatrical experiences I've had. I don't know, maybe it was just because I watched it in a ghetto part of town, but people were just like yelling at the screen and throwing stuff and like,
oh man,
like, yeah, get him, Freddy, yeah, like it was awesome. And then, you know, the other factor was I had proton packs, like some Ghostbusters costumes that we'd done for a couple Halloweens. And then I had a Freddy costume and I was like, this just makes perfect sense. Let's make a movie about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
That was it. I wish it was more profound than that, but that's just really how it went down. I had the costumes and it just made sense. And like some things are just meant to be.
So did you build those proton packs yourself then?
I mean, I physically did the labor, but it's, you know, it's a community thing because people
sure.
have
yeah, everyone's
like we used the Norm Gagnon prop plans. Like,
yeah, those are the old school plans. Like
now
it was so much out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And those things were heavy too. Like, and like chunks of them were made of wood and I had to keep a hot glue gun with us wherever we went. Cause you know, stuff would break off and I'd have to like fix it on the fly. So
that's a blast.
Yeah, I'd love to get one of the new ones, like the stuff I see people making now. That's just everything's like vacuum formed or 3D printed, and it's all solid. And those are amazing,
super lightweight. Yeah, we're part of
even those Spirit Halloween proton packs they're like 60% the size, but you know it's like $60-$70, man. I can't even imagine having that when I was a kid. Like,
oh, for sure, yeah,
like, it would have been so cool.
Well, the props to you for actually building those back in the day, because, you know, I debated building it in high school and I was like, man, I just don't know where to start. Like we had tools, but I didn't, you know, was on the internet community. You know, I knew obviously proton charging, you know, Ghostbusters HQ, all that classic stuff. Yeah. So it's like, but, you know, finding those things and actually carving out the time to do it. Plus I was playing in a band at the time. So it was just like, kind of did the music thing instead of building props. But
you only got, you know, and that's the thing is like we all have to work and stuff too. So it's like you only got so many hours in the day to spend in the garage hot gluing proton packs together.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously that did pretty well. I think that got a lot of buzz online just for a fan film. I mean, first of all, there's not a lot of Ghostbusters content at that time and that perfect mashup. So did you automatically start thinking about doing a full-length feature?
No. when we were, every time I finish a film, even to this day, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to do another one as soon as I've done, because it's just so much work.
Sure.
And that, especially those films back in the day, because a film like Freddy versus Ghostbusters, I was like the whole crew basically, setting up all the lights, which is also why the camera work and lighting is pretty crappy. But you do it all, and most of my friends, even the ones that were in film school, were just kind of like, "What's this?" Yeah, okay, but they got into it. It was a good time.
Absolutely.
And I think it was a few months before we started thinking bigger, which was to do, some sort of sequel. And then, we might as well do a feature length film, because why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's pretty gutsy at the time, right? I mean, it took real gumption to actually get out there and do that, because pretty unheard of really for a feature length. I mean, I know in the Star Wars community it's big, but really, like, you kind of pioneered the Ghostbusters fan film, and, they've really taken off since then. I don't watch nearly as many as I did when your stuff came out, but just fascinating to see like how that influenced other people too.
It was the time, like, for sure. There were no other Ghostbusters fan films really. There was one super short one that I'd seen called Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good, which was funny and it was well done, but it was basically just a scene. And everything was Star Wars or Batman, and that was another reason I was like, let's do a Ghostbusters film. Like, nobody's got any Ghostbusters. I want to see it. That was the thing about those movies, is like, I wanted to see them. And that's something that I lost for a while when I was doing professional films, was I was making stuff that I thought other people wanted to see, or this is going to be popular, or this or that. And I've learned over the years to just make what you want to see. Like, people are either going to like it or they're not. That people are definitely going to hate your work on some level, no matter what. Like, there's always people like that. So you can't get caught up trying to please everybody with your art. You just can't, because
for sure. Yeah, you really just got to do what makes you happy, because you're going to find an audience, the right audience for that will appreciate it. And there's the people that, if you give them $100, they'll, complain about that it's an older bill, or it's not like a crisp bill or something. You're like, man, I can give you what you want, and you're still going to complain about it. So
and you're going to find people that like love it for some reason. Like, all honesty, I still am kind of dumbfounded when someone is like, oh, that movie's so great. Because even I'm like, really? I mean, it's standard definition. Like, we didn't really know what we were doing with this or that. Like, but it's interesting that people really do enjoy it.
I think you just captured the spirit and you did something fresh and different. And so many things came together at the right time there. I mean, you're looking at consumer, computers and things like that, actually being able to do some of those special effects and actually being able to learn how to do that on the fly at home without having to have a big studio budget and do those things on your own. So, we're both musicians, so it's kind of the same thing in our end. Like, that's where you started going from recording a cassette tape demo to like being able to do some digital stuff, and really having those tools available is a complete game changer for everybody just trying to get their feet wet in different forms of art.
Yeah. And I'll say, I don't know much about music, but I would imagine if it's anything like film, the way I put it is, it's simultaneously the best and worst time to be a filmmaker, because it's the best because this technology has made it so you can make stuff so cheap and have it look super high quality now. Like, you can shoot on a good looking 4K camera now for, $1,200. And that's great. You can really do some quality stuff, but it's also flooded the market. To the point that it's hard to sell something that's even good.
Music is definitely the same way. I worked with 5 different labels or so throughout the last 10 years and really don't have much to show for it. I mean, it was fun though, so there's that. And I got to put out some art,
out of it. That's why it's what I tell people. If you're not enjoying it, you can go get a job somewhere and you can be doing that.
I work on films and stuff now too, so I'm trying to get into doing scores for the local films around here and audio. So I worked on a couple horror films over the summer. One by local director.
People are always looking for audio.
Yeah, exactly. There's a big market for it here, apparently, is what the other audio guys are telling me. They want somebody else to start so they don't have to be so relied on.
Dude, we're always looking for audio people. Like, I tell all the film school kids, I'm like, learn to do good audio because you will work. Because nobody's good at audio. Like, you watch stuff that looks great and it sounds bad, and so it's unwatchable.
Yeah,
we both went to audio engineering school years apart. Obviously, I'm just the older brother here, but we've worked on some projects for our friends here in town that do a lot of professional work, right? So, but they also still do some fun projects. And, we helped out a couple of times on some short film festivals and things we had. There's a one out in Lawrence, Kansas called the Wild West Film Festival. It's like basically had a weekend to do a short based on a theme. So you had to have a secret element combined in the film.
Yeah. 48 hours.
Those were so much fun to do. And just a blast.
That's a fun idea. I've always wanted to do one of those. I just haven't gotten around to it. I haven't had the right opportunity, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know if they still do it or not, but our friends are doing, professional work now. So like being able to fit that into their schedules a little bit, making the money doing it versus the recreational part is a little different nowadays. So, man, it looks like you've done so much though since then.
Here's what has my attention though. I haven't seen any of these, and I'm being honest in that, but there's a few of them that I have interest in though. Particularly, I want to know how you feel at this point about Unnatural.
Unnatural. I mean, it's a notch in my belt. It was a good learning experience. There's, I take away the positive stuff with that. It's one of those movies that like it didn't turn out as scary and cool as I wanted it to be. There were plenty of challenges there, but I think that's most movies for most people.
Yeah.
You can be happy with what you're able to achieve, and like everyone's got to understand, like unless you have, I don't know, even if you have tons of money, if it turns out exactly like it is on the page, like stuff always goes sideways, and you kind of like got to roll with it, like roll with the punches. That said, there's a lot of things that I like about that movie. So,
it definitely caught my attention. I'm gonna have to check it out for sure because I'm a huge Twin Peaks nerd. So the fact that you've got the two cast members in there is
it's definitely cool for that. And it was cool to like see them all get together and do a thing together. And that was way before they like were going to revive Twin Peaks again. So
so to get them to work together beforehand, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I always dream of like doing stuff like that. We're working on this script now where there's supposed to be like a couple old vets that kind of lead the charge on fighting some monsters. And the dream is just like, man, can you imagine if we could get like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura to play those parts?
Like the dream team right there for sure.
Yeah, it would be awesome. You just have like, it's just, and you guys are just your characters from Predator. You lived.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Then I see this Jurassic Hunt, which looks very intriguing. I love Jurassic Park and I love like how bad like dinosaur movies can be in their own charming way. But this looks like the special effects are pretty on point right now. I think, most of the character models from dinosaurs are pretty up to par for a lot of the 3D modeling and stuff, just because it's so easy to get now.
It is interesting. And I don't know if I would say it was easy. Those guys.
Well, sure. But I mean, than it was Jurassic Park.
Yeah, these two guys do all the visual effects for the whole movie. And I mean, it's ridiculous how much they do for the money. I feel bad because they were so underpaid, but they deliver, and it's a fun movie. Like it's got some fun characters and some gore, and I always try to inject that bit of fun in it, no matter how campy the setup is or anything. You just do your best. The film that I like the most that I've done out of those probably Snake Outta Compton. It's such a dumb movie. Like on purpose. Like it's supposed to be this comedy, and we just made it so stupid. It's a good ride. And there's some Ghostbusters stuff hidden in there too. I try to hide it. I try to put a little bit of it in every movie. Maybe it's a sound effect or some kind of thing. But there's some Ghostbusters tech in Snake Outta Compton.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I very much enjoy those kind of movies that are just over the top on purpose and they're hilarious. Like it's one of those things. I always see those internet memes going around about Sharknado, and they're like, if Sharknado can get approved, think about what you can do. And I'm like, but Sharknado is self-aware. It's like, people don't realize that on some level, but it's like at some point, you got to see Snake Outta Compton and, what others are like Sharktopus. There's so many, it's a whole genre now that's like actually very enjoyable to me.
I like to call it trash. But it's like good trash. I love good trash. Like I like to see, and there's creativity. Like, and I'm not just talking about my movies. I'm talking about like other filmmakers when you see them do low budget movies. Like, they would love to have more money for these effects or this or that. But like, if you get a movie done, like you should get 4 stars, like just right off the bat on IMDb. You completed a movie, you get 4 stars. Like there's nothing lower than that because it's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But you have to be creative and problem solve things because your budget is so small. But I don't like to let that stop us. In fact, if you see Snake Outta Compton, you'll see like it's a ridiculous script full of action set pieces that like if you knew what the budget was and you saw the script, you'd be like, you guys are never going to pull this off. And we did. Like, and yeah, some of it's a little shoddy, but it's there. The story's there. When I tell them we're going to take a bus through town and parody Speed, they're like, okay, how are you going to do that? And we did. We parked a bus in a parking lot and we filmed all the interiors in the bus, just shaking it and like shining some light around, and it works pretty well.
That's awesome.
But, and I also want to say it's like, there's this misunderstanding in the public about how a movie gets approved, as you say, or greenlit, like Sharknado.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting around with some friends and I'm like, I've been working on my masterpiece. It's called Snake Outta Compton. This is what we're doing.
Right.
No, like that type of movie falls in your lap. It's like a company is, they need a movie to air on this channel at this time, or they need to sell some DVDs in a bunch of markets. Like they need this movie made, like, and it just needs to be called this and have X, Y, and Z in it. So that's how that happens. Like all these movies have come to me the last decade. Chemical Peel is the only one that my friends and I conjured up and, completely made and then sold. Everything else has come to me.
That's awesome, though. So you've been able to establish yourself and stick with it now. So what's the most rewarding part about doing it for you? Because we all know it's grueling work, right? Like you said, it's no easy feat to complete a full-length feature.
The most rewarding part, honestly, is giving people their first start. Like we got a lot of like kids, interns, film school kids. I've had people that were just, a kind of an acquaintance or friend that I, gave a big role in a movie to because, they could do it. And, you find out later that like that came to them at the right time in their life. Like they were really at a low point, and like that stupid movie, like that I call trash or whatever, was like a highlight of their life. So I might like not love everything that I've done. Like maybe it's not as good as I would like it to be, but I'm definitely very appreciative of everything I've made because every single movie that I've been a part of has been a high point for somebody.
Yeah, that's a really great outlook on life, right? To be able to give those opportunities to someone and let them learn, and like in a good environment, the enthusiasm goes a long way, even on those long days or late nights. And you kind of shoot in every environment out there, so you're seeing a little bit of everything. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I, to any artist that like has that thought, it's like, my work doesn't matter. Well, I'm like look at Freddy Vs Ghostbusters, like that's not a high-end production, but like, do you know how many kids that have come to me in the last, few years and said, hey, I started being a filmmaker because I saw that. Like, it was like a big deal to me, and like, that's really awesome too. Like you got to remember, like you might not win an Academy Award, but you might inspire somebody that does, or, not even that's important. If you help somebody else find their happiness, like there's nothing better.
Absolutely. So do you have anything awesome in the works coming out soon that you can talk about?
Well, I probably shouldn't mention the title yet, but I just wrapped a movie at the end of August starring Michael J. White. And it's also got Chad Michael Collins and a couple other people. I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole of names, but it's a pretty cool sci-fi horror action film.
Okay.
And other monsters. So
that's fun. Any estimated release date on that then yet?
Man, I think it's probably not going to be done until January, February-ish, all our post-production.
Sure.
So I would guess it'll be out sometime next summer or fall.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Turn around.
dude, it takes time sometimes. Like Dragon Soldiers, I think we finished and delivered in December of 2019, and it didn't come out till like December of 2020. So
that's
it was like a year.
Especially with the pandemic and like, people were just hungry for content that's ready for release because so much stuff was shut down. That's crazy.
That was the craziest thing. It's like, here it is. It's sitting there like, and no one else is making movies, for months. There was like not a lot of production going on. And Jurassic Hunt was the, same type of thing. We shot that movie like 5 months after Dragon Soldiers, and it just came out in August 24th. So it's probably because they're low budget and they're not,
oh, sure.
The studios, they don't spend a lot of money even acquiring them. So they're just not. I don't know what the thought process is on when you put those out. I just make them and turn them loose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what's it like doing the family life and trying to direct? Because, that's a significant time away from home when you're, shooting, because you're probably not at home all the time to shoot or nearby. So what's that look like for you?
It's tough, man. Like anybody that's a parent knows that when you're away for a stretch of time, it's really hard, especially the first time, which is what this was for me. Or my daughter's like, she just turned 18 months. So I've been around her entire life. And then I was off doing this movie. And so that was a little tough. I mean, it's tough on everybody. And It was, a reason like when I was in the military, I was never like, I'm not having, I can't imagine having a family and being deployed for months on end and stuff like It's got to be just so hard. And I'm not tough enough to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go out and be the soldier, but there's still that stuff that, keeps you in place. So understand that for sure.
So when it comes to Ghostbusters, there's, I don't know how up to date you are within the actual fan community, how much you pay attention to any of that stuff, but people often debate these days, especially with Afterlife coming out, whether Ghostbusters the video game is canon or not. And the reason I find this relevant is because Ghostbusters the video game essentially made Ed Spangler canon.
Right. That was super awesome. And I'm going to try to set that part aside and, oh yeah, it's got to be canon because that makes our film canon.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be canon because it's the last Ghostbusters thing that Harold Ramis did. Like, how can you wipe that away? And why would you? And also, what did that game take place in? 1990, 1991?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So like, that's 30 years. That's plenty of time. And it's dealing with Evo, Shandor, and all the same stuff. It's like, why not put it in there? Plus, I thought the proton packs were awesome in that game. Like, I really liked the additions that they made. And I can't imagine you making a better Ghostbusters game, in all honesty, because, yeah, having you upgrade the pack and doing all that stuff was really rad. So, yeah, I think it's probably canon. And I had read, they talked about it not being canon a few years ago when they were developing a new film, but then I think after Harold Ramis passed, they've kind of dropped that conversation, and
yeah,
that's another reason I think it'll probably remain canon because
I think they're not going to purposely erase it or anything like that, but I don't think they're going to address it or anything in the new movie. But I think they will just kind of leave it be and just kind of maybe there might be a small hint at it. Well, we do know, and then some of the new toys like the Spangler wand has sounds from the video game in it. At least. So that also kind of is like,
leaves it open for interpretation.
Look, didn't Dan Aykroyd say that's the third movie? Like,
yeah, he's
come on.
Especially then, he was all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say it'll stick around, and not everyone has to be like Disney, where you buy a franchise and then just be like, oh, none of that stuff's canon anymore. Screw all those books and video games. Like, we're gonna do it better.
Yeah, we interviewed Steve Perry, who wrote Shadows of the Empire in the 90s, because that was like our fucking favorite, and that was one of the things we were talking about, like, because he created Dash Rendar and all that, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of that stuff. Adrian seems perfectly in line with
Shadows
that.
Of the Empire, I was familiar because the video game was great.
Exactly.
And the toys were great, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I bought them, even though I was 16.
Oh yeah, it's all good. I bought toys in like junior high and high school, and like people are like, "What are you doing that?" And I'm like, now I just buy and collect. Like, I don't know why I ever felt kind of nerdy about that then. Like, I just
it was a different time. That's why.
Yeah, like now you're just
like I was like, you don't even know what it was like to be a nerd in the 80s. Like it was not pop culture. Like it was not mainstream. You didn't see
it's like so accepted now. It's
turtle shirt, like an adult, like you didn't see that.
Yeah, they'd be like, "What are you? Yeah, you wearing your children's clothes?" You're like, "No.
Yeah.
We just stopped. We just stopped dressing like adults."
Maybe we're ruining everything. Maybe our generation's we're just taking it all down the drain. We don't grow up. Who knows?
I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable and I like how I dress. So
I think we're a lot. I think that the younger generations are a lot more forgiving of those.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm sure they have other problems. I have no idea what those are, but I'll find out in a few years.
Yeah, well, we didn't grow up with smartphones, so I'm very, very happy about not having that to adopt things I did in my youth.
It's lame, but I I miss you have to go to the video store and the movie has to be in that you want. Like there has to be a copy available. It's the only
that was like the most rewarding thing. It was like going on a treasure hunt. You get there and
it was the hunt.
We got it this time. Yes.
Yep. And then you get home and it's all wore out and staticky.
Oh yeah. Well played, worn out case. Yeah, all the whole 9 yards there.
Yeah, that's
so what do you think about
put this room together and stuff?
Yeah.
Just to have those feels.
I admit, I hear you. This is my room. The office has all the stuff on display.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Justin?
Oh, I was going to say, so what are your thoughts on Afterlife, right? You kind of started that fan film thing, and I think that's probably really, in some degree, helped Sony kind of keep their eyes on it, right? Because we all know Dan Aykroyd's talked since Ghostbusters 2 about a third Ghostbusters movie with little to show for it until recently. So, what are your thoughts on that?
It's tough, man. It's obviously I'm just a low-level filmmaker who made some fan films that has no claim to the franchise or anything, but you do feel a little bit like you're watching your ex marry somebody that's totally better than you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So it's like I want it to be good. I want to go watch it and enjoy it, but it's kind of, I don't know. You can't really undo the damage that the 2016 film did. Like when that came out and it just seemed like they didn't even care what they were making. That's when I was just kind of like, well, whatever. You could get some unknown people that really care about it, and maybe they'll make something that's in the vein. But that's not how Hollywood works.
Yeah, I think for me, I never say I'd hate. I never hated the movie. It is what it is. What it is. It's not as terrible as some people claim it to be. I'm not going to go out there and claim that it stole my childhood and took away
no
one put me under a scalpel and carved out part of my brain or anything absurd like that. Some people make it out to be. But seeing the Sony hack emails and reading some of that, you kind of get a little bit better idea what happened behind the scenes there. Which it's giant corporations. What do you expect?
Yeah, I didn't read any of that, and I don't know much about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And look, I'm super glad for anybody that that was their first Ghostbusters movie and they loved it and it got them hooked on it. That's great. I'm not even mad that it was made. It is what it is. I was just I was disappointed in the selection of the filmmakers that they picked to make it. And it's not because I don't think they're talented. Paul Feig's made some great stuff that I think is hilarious. Yeah. I just thought tonally, when he was announced as the pick, I was like, that guy is, I don't think he can do a Ghostbusters movie. Tonally, it's just not.
If you had told me
style
in 2004, he was going to do a Ghostbusters movie, I'd have been like, yeah, maybe, because, freaks and geeks and stuff like that. But by the time he gets into the wackier movies, I for sure see what you mean there, because it's a little different. But of course, they did the whole SNL thing, and it is what it is. The movie exists.
I think that there could have been a good movie there.
Yeah, they definitely.
I think you could have used the same cast and made a great movie. I just think that the script and the style of direction just wasn't right.
Yeah, I remember they went through a ton of. They had a bunch of different scripts that were being written. I remember at one point they just, the Russo brothers were working on one at one point. I wonder what that would have been like.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where for 15 years, it was a property that, they were like just treating like you could never write a script good enough to make a third movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it was kind of was for a long time. And then all of a sudden they're just like, here's whatever. And it was like on par with the first Alien versus Predator movie, where I was just like, what is this that I've waited all this time for? Like that was kind of like the knife in the back.
Well, and I think it was just, maybe Bill Murray was just finally like, all right, let me just get my name off this so I don't have to deal with it, because he probably got tired of being, all the rumors is that he held it up because of the rights agreement, all that. And they finally changed the rights agreement to allow everyone to make the next movie and, started Ghost Corps and all that. So that's very fascinating, but, here we are and we got something new and fresh, but
the new one looks good. I am optimistic that it'll be an enjoyable film.
Yeah, we're really excited for it. What I think is interesting though is that you chose to write an heir to Spangler in your movie, and that's kind of what we're focused on in this movie. I just find that interesting.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. I don't know. It just seemed like the natural. You needed the brains. You needed the brains to like power the team and have the technology. But in hindsight, I'm not sure why it wasn't like a Stantz relative, because he's like so enthusiastic about the Ghostbusters. But it was definitely going to be one of those two guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, the last name Spangler is just awesome.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one. I'll tell you that. Yeah. That one that sticks with you. So. Any thoughts on, if we got, we know a lot of people that do a lot of types of projects. So you got any advice for anyone that's trying to get their first project started?
Yeah. And it's going to sound super cliche, but you have to just do it. And I mean that, like, you're going to have to make some compromises in places and just get it done. And just remember, it's not going to be your last project, and it's not going to be your best project. And every time you make something, it's probably, maybe it won't be as good as you thought it would be. Maybe it'll be better, but you're going to get better every time. And, you'll meet people and just have great adventures and stories. And it's very fulfilling to just get stuff done. And again, I'll stress, like, you can't get caught up worrying about what other people are going to think about it.
Yeah, just got to focus on getting it done, get that completion through. Makes total sense. So do you still keep up with the Ghostbusters community at all in any way?
I am part of a few groups on Facebook,
but
I've muted all of them until December because I don't want to see any spoilers.
Fair enough. Totally understand that. Yeah, that's after New York Comic Con and they showed the whole film there. Everyone's like, oh boy, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, I muted everything. I was just like, I want to be totally surprised by everything, even though I'm one of those guys that sits there and goes, okay, it's time for a jump scare. Oh, there it is. Okay,
yeah.
Now when she moves her head, there's gonna be a monster in the background. Okay, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you're thinking through as a script writer and a director and all those film roles. Yeah,
I will say that being a filmmaker and watching movies kind of sucks because, and it's not just because like I know what's gonna happen next because I'm so versed at storytelling, but it's also like you see stuff a lot. You see so much stuff that's so great that you're just like, God, I'm never gonna be any good.
Yeah, it's frustrating and encouraging at the same time. So
yeah, it's crazy. There's some of the stuff being made is just like I don't even know how much further they can push it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, definitely appreciate your time tonight and joining us, and hopefully we can chat again soon about an upcoming project. Anytime you got something coming out you want to talk about, just hit us up, and maybe if you want, share your thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife after it comes out as a director. And we're talking about doing a roundtable with some people in the industry, a couple of friends of ours. So maybe you'd like to join that and kind of give your professional insight on, things you thought were great about it, not just from the story, but some of the technical stuff in the background.
Yeah, sure. Sounds fun.
Awesome.
Sounds like a good time.
That's the game plan. Well, appreciate it. And where can everyone find you out on social media if they're not following you already?
Wait. This is perfect time for me to note something because we're talking about Hank Braxtan's social media and stuff. Back in the day, I remember being like, all right, I was born in 1991. Let's put that in perspective. So around 2005, I'm 14. And I remember one time searching up and trying to be like, all right, you got to watch this to my friend, probably my friend Nathan, trying to show him Freddy Vs Ghostbusters. And being like, all right, we got to go to Hank Braxtan, it was braxtanfilms.com. But no, it's not the S. You get the S is not there. But I remember that used to be a big thing with people like searching up the websites. There's no S on the braxtanfilm.com.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have called it such a narcissistic name using my last name. Because also my last name is, it's spelled T-A-N and no one ever spells it right. They always spell Braxton, T-O-N.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just change the spelling of my name years ago. Who knows? But it's still a thing. It's still, it makes me wonder how many opportunities I've missed out on because the agent
URL. Yeah.
Man.
That's it. Maybe they tried to get me for the Ghostbusters remake and they just couldn't. They're like, "Where's Hank Braxtan?"
Yeah, he disappeared off the earth. We don't know.
Yeah, but you say that it's Braxton Film, and I just kept it like it was. I parodied Lucasfilm like 20 years ago, and I just kept it, and I just keep it as my social media handle because I don't feel like expending creative energy on that.
I think it helps too. It's like a branding thing. Like a lot of people do already know you for that, so it works.
It is weird. It is weird to say that or to think that anybody like heard of me. I remember I used to have a Braxton Film sticker on the back of my Blazer. I was driving across country one time. I was at a gas station in the middle of Kansas, and someone was like, "Hey, Braxton Film, Freddy Vs Ghostbusters," and I was like, "What? Like you've heard of that? That's crazy."
Yeah.
And playing online games because I'd go by Braxton Film on that too, and every once in a while someone would recognize the handle, and that's kind of fun.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
guess it's unique enough that I don't think there are any fanboys out there calling themselves Braxton Film. There's probably plenty of people called Venkman or Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Cruise 69. It's not Tom Cruise.
Right. Like that, the guy who's deep faking Tom Cruise on all the TikToks these days. It's weird stuff.
I don't know about that.
Young
That
and
stuff's
culture.
That's going to be so problematic in a few years.
Yeah.
It is. So, well, appreciate your time and check out Hank online at Braxtan Film.
Braxtan Film. I kind of say it like an idiot.
The tan, you got to say the tan.
We'll put some links below in the description and everything too. Yep. So check those out.
But check it out and watch the classics, watch the new works, and we'll chat with you soon.
Is last question, is there any of these available for streaming right now that people should check out?
All my films are on streaming. You can buy or rent pretty much everything I've done on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, that kind of thing.
Sweet.
And check out Snake Outta Compton. I think you'll enjoy it. It's it's a good Friday night beer and buddies movie. I'll put it that way.
Nice.
All right.
But yeah, Dragon Soldiers is fun. It's a bunch of soldiers in the woods fighting a dragon. Whatever. Jurassic's fun. Like they're fun. Like
yeah,
I think the movies I make are fun. I will give them that.
I'm a guy who owns Python on DVD, so I'm sure I'll enjoy those.
I have Pterodactyl. I always call it Pterodactyl. I have Pterodactyl on DVD. So
I've actually debated buying that because the local store that I buy all my used DVDs from has it, and I'm like, I might buy this.
Yeah, $2 or $3. Like you got to have that stack.
Man.
Yeah. All right, guys. I got to bounce too.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time though.
All right. Sure.
Fun to chat again.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
Later, guys.